So from our risk matrix, we get our risk graph, we get our risk matrix, and this is the stuff many companies now use in terms of managing their safety requirements. What I'm just saying here is be careful. Here on this sort of matrix, we've got lots of red. Lots of red, of course, is bad, extreme risk. The trouble is that comes from this part of the equation up here. And it's only a small area on the actual graph that is a high risk area. Because we're converting a log scale into a linear type representation, it appears as if a lot of things can go wrong because there is so much red. It's a bit deceptive. It's not easy to have high risk situations regularly. You get them exceptionally, but this looks as though many things can be high risk or extreme risk. In the real world, it's unlikely because there are so many things that have to line up in a bad way for bad events to happen. But yeah, this is where this matrix comes from, our mathematics. What we have to be wary of is if we start getting lots of risk scenarios up here, it's suspicious because there can't be that many things that go that badly wrong all the time. They're exceptional, but they do happen. This is an understanding of what we try and do to manage risk. This is the Swiss cheese concept of managing risk. What we know is a hazard out there. If the hazard isn't controlled, there will be a consequence of some disaster perhaps, or somebody gets hurt. So you put in place various barriers. Things like trained people, things like procedures, things like instrumentation, documentation, a whole bunch of things you put in place to prevent the hazard becoming a disaster. Every barrier has weaknesses, and the weaknesses are shown up by those holes in the Swiss cheese. Now the trouble starts when all the holes line up. So when all our barriers that have weaknesses, when the weaknesses line up, then the barriers are then not functional. So that's a particular model that we sort of use to explain we've got to have enough barriers there, and of course we want the barriers with no holes would be ideal. At least the very small holes, and we try and control when barriers are used. So it's a concept of how to manage the dangers in our business and why we do things certain ways.